Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Corner Talks podcast. Today, I have a good friend, talented makeup artist, Stephanie Shriqui. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well,
Thanks for
thank you.
having me.
Yes, of course. It's been a while. Well, I should say a while. It's been a short time since we last saw each other face to face. We collaborated on a project called Act of War, and we're so grateful to have your talent and your skills that day, contributing to the project.
Thank you. It was awesome to be there. It was really, really fun. I had a good time.
Yeah, it was. You and Julianne Trudell, who's another makeup artist. You guys both helped us out that day, and it was just so nice to come out of a lockdown and finally be able to get our hands dirty, sink our teeth into another creative venture, and really create something at the end of the day that still needs to be edited and put together, which is my responsibility now. But from what I've seen so far, I couldn't have asked for more. One thing that I really did take from it is it's a huge learning curve. Dealing with the makeup department, that's something that I would have to get more familiar with as a director in the future, and just seeing the amount of time and detail and care you guys put into your work.
Yeah, it was definitely really, really fun. Like finally getting to be on set, finally getting to like take the skills that I learned in school and bring it into like something real.
Mhm.
It was definitely such a good experience, and you guys were so nice. And I think that that was a really good first, really professional experience to have.
Yeah, thank you. And I take a lot of pride in that. I'm that kind of guy where I'm very focused and very serious because I, get easily distracted, but I also want to make sure I make the best project possible. But at the same time, I always, from my heroes themselves, like Tarantino, he always encourages the director or whoever's helming the project, the co-producer, the producers, make sure everyone feels included, everyone feels comfortable, and everyone feels part of the project, right? That's why when I came in, I spoke to you and Julianne like right away and was like, "Hey, how's it going? My name is Daniel. Like, if you have any questions and things like that." Because it made your job that much easier, right? That much more
Yeah.
relaxed. And something that I've actually learned for the next project, because I did it on my first short film that I shot last summer, which was much longer, it was about 20 minutes, filmed by Cracked. And I would actually do like a Zoom call or like a get together just to even familiarize ourselves more. Because of that day, I felt it was very like, hey, like meet and greet, which is fine. You're going to have those things. But if you can, like I said, prepare as much as you can, I feel you can even get a better experience out of it. Do you feel the same thing, the same way?
Yeah, I think that would be actually like a really good idea. I
Right.
think that that would be nice, and just to like talk before we get there so it's not like you said, like so meet and greet.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that there was anything wrong with that either. Like it
Hmm.
wasn't there wasn't anything wrong with that, but I just think it would be like an extra positive thing to do a before meeting for sure.
Yeah, definitely an added bonus, and that's what I mean by learning curve. Is there's never going to be a perfect way to approach it, because as we know in film, like the slightest thing goes wrong, and you have to
Yeah.
overcome that challenge in the moment. But yeah, my biggest thing is just about, I guess, making it feel like we're a family, we're a team, and we're all working towards a common goal. And
Yeah, exactly.
like I said, that experience, was I'm really grateful for it because everyone showed up, they did what they had to do, and they put their best effort forward. So that's, like I said, really excited for the end product. Really excited to share that with you whenever that's
Yeah, me
completed.
too.
Yeah, and looking forward to more projects, more collaborations as well.
Yeah, me too. That would be
Yeah.
great.
So before we, after talking about your collaboration, your contribution to Act of War, the short film that I directed recently, I observed your skills that day, and I was, mesmerized at the fact of how much, like I said, detail, how much care, how much thought really goes into this makeup. It's not, especially the makeup that I was asking as a director. I needed cuts, I needed bruises.
Yeah.
I still remember to this day, like you threw me off because you were like, "Do you want a fresh bruise or do you want a bruise that's been around for a while?" And obviously that's a legitimate question, but I honestly didn't prepare for that. Like I'm thinking, "Oh my God, that's right. There's two kinds of bruises." Like she would know.
Yeah.
And you were very helpful as well. Like attending to a wound. I said, she would know out of all things how to care for it, like with the alcohol and the patch. And you even educated me that day. You said, no, you have to use a clean patch when you're dabbing it. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that's right, stupid. I'm
Yeah.
like, like that's right, that's right.
This is just
But
like the
that's
lifeguard in me that knew that stuff.
No, but that is so great, and this is what I mean by
Yeah.
like everyone on set needs to feel included, but because they all share a creative approach, right? It's not just the director that has the vision. I'm always looking for even the actors, right? The lighting, the sound guy, everyone that they was so helpful. But nevertheless, I wanted to know from observing you, what made you choose a career in makeup art and design?
So I was always very undecided with what I wanted my future to look like. I had no idea. So after high school, I actually took a year off and traveled a bit and studied a little bit, but just like for myself. And
Nice.
I thought when I came back, I would know exactly who I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. It's not what happened. And I still had no idea. So my parents forced me to go to university
Hmm.
and just complete a degree. So I got a BA in sociology.
Nice.
And then I think I was in third year when I was like really focusing. I was trying to figure out, like, okay, what do I really spend my time doing? Where do I put my money? What videos do I enjoy watching? That kind of thing. And I thought
Right.
makeup is pretty much that thing. Like I really loved all the behind the scenes stuff on movies and seeing how things get done. I loved just, YouTube gurus watching those kind of videos also. So I was like, okay, maybe I can turn this hobby into a career. And I started looking into the schools that were in Toronto and found a really great one. And then I kind of just went with it. And I was like, this is what makes me feel happy. And I really knew that I didn't want to do something that would make me sad on a daily. Like I know a lot
Yeah.
of my friends are in social work or other things that I just like, I don't think that would be good for me. Like power to them for being able to do those
Of
kinds of
course.
things,
Yeah.
but it wasn't for me. So I really wanted to do something that made me happy and make other people feel happy. And when you look good, you feel good.
Yeah.
So I think that I just wanted to turn that into a career.
Yeah, and I'm so happy you brought up the subject of happiness because it's what I live by. It's what I dedicated, my whole career to, and also this podcast is always about not chasing the money but chasing the dream. And money, I'm not naive. I'm not immature that way. I know that it makes the world go round. Like you need money. How else am I able to do these projects? But at the same time, I feel like there's a limit, and you best described it as you have friends, right, that are in sociology or doing a career that, let's be honest, they probably don't want to do, but they feel they need to, or they're forced to, or maybe they're not privileged enough to, or fortunate enough, I should say, to pursue a career like yourself, like in the arts. And I could never understand that. And, time will tell, right? Like with all of us, we have to see where
Yeah.
the arts will take us, right? Because you can't live off imagination forever. You have to have some sort of income, but at least give it a shot. And that's my biggest thing. We're in our 20s, and this is the time, I think, to take risks and just to make mistakes and see where it gets us. As we get older, it'll be much harder because maybe other things will
Yeah.
happen. Life will happen, right? Whether it's families, responsibilities, you have a kid, who knows, right? But
Yeah.
this is the time, especially if you have no debt, and you're just living at home. And, again, people are, securing jobs and buying houses and stuff, which is great. But if you really have a dream that you never pursued, like I talk to people that want to be actors or that want to get into photography, but they're not going for it, it's like, why not take that chance, take that risk if you really are that
Exactly.
passionate, right? Because there's also a lot of
Yeah.
people that like to talk about it, right? But I know that there's a fair amount of friends that, or people, I should say, that rather be doing something else, but they don't because of other judgment. Or, one guy was telling me, like, if I'm not making money, then I'm wasting time. It's like, what? It's like, are you really wasting time? Because I talked to
But are
another.
you happy? Like, is that what
Exactly. Are
makes
you
you
happy?
happy?
And you talk
Yeah.
to, and this is why I love these podcasts, is because you talk to people like yourself, but even people that are more experienced than us, right? That have been in that have
Hmm.
tenure, that have been in the industry for a while. And they tell me things like, equaling, I'm like going on a stutter. You
That's
shouldn't
okay.
be equaling money to time being spent towards your dream, right? It's not something that should be justified, right? Like when you do something, you should do it for the value that you're getting. Value doesn't always need to equivalent to money, and that's what I was trying to say. The time that you spend, whether it's learning from a mentor or, shadowing someone that's better than you, is much better than getting a paycheck or a few $100s, right?
Yeah, I
So like you
completely
said,
agree.
yeah. And like you said about, the whole thing about happiness, it's so true. I feel like a lot of us, we're conditioned by society, especially at a young age. Like you have to follow this linear path. And I've always been the rebellious person that way, where it's like, well, what if I alter it? What if I go a different way? What if I change the family tree, right? Like completely
Yeah.
disrupt it. That it's like, oh, where did this guy Daniel go? Or where did this girl Steph go, right?
Yeah.
Um, I want to get to, because you mentioned your parents, they wanted you to go to university, and you actually graduated. That's amazing. What university, by
Yeah.
the way, did you go to?
I went to Ryerson.
Oh, beauty. I went to Ryerson as well
Yeah.
for marketing. Yeah. Great,
Oh,
great
cool.
school. I love it.
Yeah.
Um, but what I want to know, like with your parents, when you decided to go for CMU, right, the College of Makeup Art and Design, did they give you challenges, setbacks, or were they completely encouraging?
They were so excited and they were so happy for me that I finally picked something. They were like, it just makes sense. Like, this is just what you're like, it's fun for you. This is what you enjoy. This is what you want to do. My
Yeah.
dad was like, don't you want to just drop out and like start now? And I was like, no, like I
Oh,
made
that's
it this
amazing.
far in university.
Yeah.
I would hate myself if I didn't finish,
Yes.
if I had
Yes.
gone through, 3 years of torture basically for
Right. Right.
me. Like I better finish and get everything out of it that I can. Um, and then move on to it. But they were so happy. They were so excited. Like even still, they're really just they love that I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And
No,
I'm
that's
thankful. I'm so grateful for that because I know that even within my own family, like there's expectations and whatever, but they're just really supportive of wanting me to be happy.
Yeah, and that's so crucial. And like I said, they sound like really good parents that they understand their child, and you have that open communication with them. Not a lot of people have that, believe it or not,
Yeah,
and that's something I learned as I get older. Some people can't even afford the luxury to talk to their parents about their day,
I know.
or
I know.
what they're going through. I was talking to a
Yeah.
buddy, like speaking to their mom and as if they were a therapist. Like that's big, that's huge, that's so critical in the development of anyone, really.
Yeah.
Um, and the fact that they supported you on this journey speaks a lot to their parenting, and that's just great to hear. So going to university, like that was just something because you didn't know yourself what that you wanted to do, so they kind of said, if you don't know what you're doing, you should at least get yourself an education.
Yeah. And I think I went through like one semester and at the end of it in first year, I had like a total freak out. I was like, I'm not going back. I hate it. And I was like crying to my dad. I was like, I can't stand this life. Like, this is not what I want to be doing. And he
Right,
was like,
right.
I was actually also undeclared in my first year or my
Mm,
first semester. And so I had different classes and different subjects. So I wasn't meeting anybody that I could like stay friends with. And my dad was like, just try and finish the year. And if by the end of the year you don't want to continue with it, then let's figure out something else. And then by the end of the year, I had made friends and completely forgot that I had that option to quit.
right.
And looking back on it, like I'm really glad that I didn't. And I think my parents didn't want me, like they know the value of education.
Yeah.
My mom didn't graduate from university, so she
Mm,
and it's something that she regrets, and she was like, I never want you to feel the regret that I feel
yeah.
of not finishing school. So she was like, that was something that I wanted you to have.
It's a very good point
And
that yeah, that's a
yeah.
very good point. I was just going to say that your mom made, because when I was in university at Ryerson, I was studying business management and then I majored in marketing. There was many times where I said to myself, should I just drop out and go after this film dream? Keep in mind at the time, I had no contacts and no portfolio. I just really wanted to scratch that itch. And let's say I was successful, like I did it, or I was successful in my dream. I think there was always be a part of me that would say, I never finished it, because I'm not the kind of person to leave things alone. I like to finish what I started, whether it
Yeah.
be the project that we did, act of war, like edit it, or a photo shoot, or just really anything in my life that I put my mind to. And I think the same thing, right, that you're agreeing, is that even if you were to drop out, right, and your parents were that supportive, like, yeah, just drop out and start doing makeup, it's like, oh, but I made it this far. And you said it
Yeah.
so nice. It's not like you did 2 months and you dropped out, but imagine doing like 2 years and you're like having different feelings about it. It's not,
Exactly.
it's always going to bother you for the rest of your life. Like, I could have finished it. And there's actually been cases where, like, Steven Spielberg, for instance, he dropped out of film school and he submitted, I believe, Schindler's List to as his thesis to graduate
Whoa.
from the program. Yeah, something crazy like that, because Schindler's List, an exceptional film. I don't know if it was Schindler's List
Yeah.
or Saving Private Ryan, but I
Whoa.
think the whole point
My
of that
God.
program. Yeah, right. The whole point of that program
Yeah.
is, when you're a student, you're supposed to create a film with people in the class, whatever. And apparently, his film qualified as a submission, right? Because he's a filmmaker, he has a vision, he executed all the criteria they asked, and they gave him his degree at 60 or something, 50 years old. I do remember reading this article. So I think that's really cool. That's just a testament to how important education is.
Yeah.
To know that. I think for me too, because I'm a competitive person. Like, I just there's a part of me that's like, I want to know that I could do it. Like, I graduated from university. When I talk to people, there's something about it. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, really. Just having that pride.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
speaking of school and these institutions, right? As a filmmaker, I myself, I never went to film school. I've applied in the past, Ryerson, York, but I never got in. My portfolio wasn't strong enough, and for whatever reason, right? But I'm always fascinated with people like yourself that actually do go to school for it, and I'm always curious, like, your experience there, because you studied basically this artistic profession in an institution, right? Something that I can't really
Yeah.
wrap my head around, but it's possible. People do it. So I wanted to know, what was it about the College of Makeup Art and Design that made you want to enroll and educate your studies?
So I knew that I didn't, I knew that I loved makeup and that's what I wanted to go into,
Yeah.
but I didn't know exactly how to pursue that as a career.
Okay.
So I thought that the best way to get educated on that would be to go to school for it. And I did a bunch of research on which schools, and I knew a couple of people who had already gone to CMU, and they said it's the best school and it has a great reputation. I'm pretty sure it's like one of the top makeup schools in North America. So I was like, okay, like I'm sure they're gonna teach me something that I don't know or I
Yeah.
can't find online.
Yeah.
Um, and it definitely did. And I actually struggle with being creative myself, like
Mm.
coming up with new ideas or new concepts. That's something that I find difficult. So I think it pushed me to kind of like think outside the box and expand the way that I think a little bit more. And I loved it.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
Yeah.
because the reason why I ask is, I first of all never heard of the College of Makeup Art and Design, just because I'm always thinking like screenplays and directing,
Yeah.
cinematography. So I've attended schools like Raindance, Toronto. Have you heard of Raindance by any chance? Have you
No.
taken any classes?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So those are more foundational courses, like to teach you the filmmaking process. But again, makeup is so critical in film that they. I think I'm just more intrigued at the fact that they have a whole school dedicated to that. I think it's so important. Is this school, has it been around for a while, or?
Yeah, it has been around for a while and it was actually called Complexions or something before.
Oh, okay. Interesting
Yeah.
name. I kind of like
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
a bit different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
But this school was also great because it taught the specific program that I did. I had learned every aspect within the makeup industry. So I
Right.
did fashion and photography. We did film, theater, prosthetics, creature design, like everything that we would need to know in any area of makeup was covered by this program that I took at the school. And I think
Right.
that that also helped me realize like where I wanted to take my career.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So, yeah,
yeah, and that's exactly what I want to get into. Did this experience benefit your career?
yeah, for sure. A
Yeah.
100%.
Did it
Yeah.
open up like contacts and things like that, or challenge you creatively, artistically?
So, yeah, it definitely challenges you creatively and artistically. And, it was a stressful process because it's really hard to not compare yourself to your classmates.
Yes.
And
Yes.
some people are coming from like art school and they have all these, they're so creative and they draw and I'm like, I don't know, I just came from university where I'm writing essays all day every day. So like
Yeah, yeah, for
I
sure.
didn't feel like I had that, and I felt like at the beginning I was really comparing myself to the other work that I was seeing, and then I was
Of
like,
course.
okay, just stop doing that. Just recognize that you have something else that's different and
Yeah.
own that, and that's it.
A lot of creatives deal with an imposter syndrome, and that's something that I'm guilty of as well, right? Where,
Yeah.
like you said, you'll walk into a room and there's people that are really seasoned, or they just know what they've been doing it for a while, right?
Yeah.
And again, I can relate to that. I'm enjoying this conversation because I can relate to you a lot. I feel like we have a similar path where we went to school
Yeah.
for something completely different and unartistic, uncreative. Although some might argue marketing, there's some creativity involved, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it's still business, right? There's still but it was still a commerce angle, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that, just showing up on set, right? Like I still feel that sometimes where it's like, wow, there's people that have been in it, like grinding it out. Like the job that they're working on the side is in film as well. You know what I mean? It's not just like two different jobs. But I think the best way to overcome that is like yourself, right? If there's one thing I'm taking from this is you had the courage to just say, I'm not doing it to impress anyone. I'm doing it for myself to be happy.
Yeah. And I actually think that's something that I've been feeling like I've been living by recently is like just fake it till you make it.
Yeah, right.
That is like for
Yeah, yeah.
me, it's like the biggest thing because it's like if you walk in and you're confident and you're like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. I can do this. Like, why would they not believe you?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
they don't know what they don't know. So like
Yeah.
I just go in, I'm like, yeah, of course I can do that. Try it and it comes out.
There
And I
is,
know that
yeah.
I have that education. So I know. And if you said, oh, I want um old age makeup, let's say for something, and
Right.
we did it a few months ago, I have the resources to go back and freshen up my memory on how to do that. And I think that that's also something that was great about the school is that we have these textbooks and the videos, and we're able to go back and refresh our memory on things that we learned.
No,
So
absolutely. Yeah. And
you know
the whole fake it till you make it, I completely agree with you in the sense of having that confidence or conviction in yourself, right? Because as you do more projects, right, and I speak for myself, you should develop some sort of exterior where it's like, hey, like I know what I'm doing. Obviously, I'm going to make mistakes or I'm going to learn for next time, but don't have that much stress or anxiety going into it. And a big thing that I've been told is have fun with it. Like too many of us, we forget that it's supposed to be fun because this is what we love to do.
yeah,
And I think we take it very serious as well. I don't know if you agree with me on this because we want it to be our life. So there's a lot of pressure. Does that make sense?
yeah,
It's not
for
like a
sure, of
side,
course.
it's not like a side hustle, right? That's why
No.
the last project, I'm just so focused, laser focused, because this is what
Yeah,
I do now, or I decided for myself. Because before this, I would work like in sales, I would do corporate jobs, but now this is all I'm doing. So it's like, I feel like this
that's
weight.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I feel like there's weight, but at the same time, it's like, you know what, maybe I need that to stay focused and have that hunger. But I think it's just all about being healthy and have that balance, right? About
yeah,
for sure, because you don't want to kill yourself in the process or burn out.
no,
That's a big
yeah,
thing. Yeah, I've
yeah,
experienced. But
for
that's great.
sure.
That's a definitely a great. I'm so happy that CMU, as you guys call it, has
Yeah.
benefited your career. And, I see the amount of contacts from your Instagram page you've created and the models and things like that. I wanted to ask you, are these people that you were like classmates or colleagues, or are they people you find through Facebook groups?
So both.
Oh, okay, nice.
So while I was in school, a lot of the people who I did a photo shoot on were like either my friends or friend of a friend kind of thing.
Yep.
And then when I graduated, people started just reaching out to me and being like, "Hey, I'm doing this photo shoot. I need a makeup artist." And like, yeah, of course. So it's a combination of both. But I also think with Instagram, you have to keep it up. You have to constantly being like creating content, and
Yeah.
we're in a pandemic and whatever. So I was like, okay, I'll use the people who are in my circle, and
Yeah.
you got to do what you got to do.
No, for sure. And that's so true. I love what you just said because as creatives, that's something that I struggled with when the pandemic hit is, how do I get a film together, right? How do I get a bunch of people, especially with these lockdowns, right? Everything's on hold.
Yeah.
Or what do I do in the meantime? How do I keep busy? And that's why I started like a podcast, right? And for you, that's why you reached out to people close to you. Is it's so important. People don't understand this, to consistently keep up with your brand and showcase what you can offer, because I'm sure Instagram has, even broadened more context, widened, expanded on your network, as it did for
Yeah,
me.
for sure.
Whether people are encouraging you, whether people are DMing you because they want to connect on another project, it's so important to have that presence. And with social media, like, do you find it challenging because, like, do you see yourself comparing sometimes, or has it become a breeze, like you don't care anymore, you're just all about your art?
I don't feel like I'm comparing, but I
Mhm.
think that for me specifically, I feel like there's a pressure to keep my Instagram looking a certain way. Like I have a vision for how I want it to be.
Right.
And so
Aesthetically stuff.
yeah, it
There
has
you
to
go.
be
That's your
aesthetic.
Instagram handle, guys. Aesthetically
Yeah.
stuff.
Um, so I think that that almost limits what I want to post on my Instagram because I want it to look nice. I want people to come on it and say, oh, like this, personally. And I ask my friends, like, I'm more likely to follow an account that is cohesive and looks pleasing as a whole, so I feel that pressure, but I have to get over it also, like
Yeah.
it's just,
It becomes time consuming and
yeah,
really really counterproductive, right? It doesn't really, that's what
yeah,
I've kind of learned. Like, what am I getting out of, looking at someone's page for endless hours? I'm not creating what I want to do, right?
yeah,
And it's tempting, it's human nature, right? We go through, especially if you're creative, you're saying, oh, what is that person doing, or what do they have? How come I'm not doing that? But I think what I've learned is we're coming from so many different places and we're headed in so many different directions that it's impossible to live that same person's life.
yeah,
And if you do want, I always, tell this to people that might compare, or even myself, like, to make myself feel better. It's like, okay, if you want their page, then you have to get their life as well, because their life is what made contributed to that page.
yeah,
And would you take their life over yours? And then you start to see
um,
everyone's demons and everyone's issues or flaws. And you start to say, you know what, I got enough issues that I got to deal with. So it's almost
yeah,
like I'm happy with my life. I think it's a really cool exercise to tell yourself, just like play that game in your head. Say, okay, if I have that person's page, I have to have their life. Or if I have their person talent, I'll have to have who they are as a person. And
yeah,
I'm telling you, like 9 out of 10 times, even more, like people do not want to trade their life once they start to see it, someone else's. Not to sound
exactly.
like their life is better or my life is better than yours or vice versa. It's just more like put into perspective. Be grateful, appreciative of what you have, right?
I think that you're given what you can handle.
Yeah,
And I think
very
that
smart.
what you
Yeah,
can handle is not necessarily what I can handle, and vice versa. Um, so I just think like there's no point in being like, oh, I wish I had that girl's problems or this guy's problems. It's like
yeah.
that's what they're supposed to be dealing with, and you're supposed to be dealing with this, and that's it. Like you're going to be like you have to be able to handle it because that's what you're given, you
Oh,
know.
that's such an awesome notion that you've mentioned, because I've said that to my buddy when I graduated. I was going through a tough time, and I wrote on the back of my graduation photo, because I graduated a year earlier from him. And I said, "You're given this life because you're strong enough to live it." Because I
Yeah, there
remember
you
reading that
go.
somewhere, right? And
Yeah,
it's so true, right? Like, all our lives are so unique and different because we're given what we're capable of. And at the same time, in terms of dreams, right? Like, when are they happening? Why aren't they happening? Like, I was talking to a buddy, and it's like Samuel L. Jackson blew up when he was 40, right?
there you
But if he
go.
was if he was comparing himself with Charlie D'Amelio, right, he'd be like, I'm
Yeah,
going nowhere in life. But it's
yeah,
like, no, it's like everything happens for a reason at a certain time. When you're ready, are you prepared,
yeah,
right? So
exactly.
I think it's very important to, like you said, just put it all into perspective and really eliminate that comparison quality, because it does creep up. We're human, it's only natural, and social media doesn't help. But a big thing that I've learned in the pandemic is to use it to your advantage, right? To broaden, to showcase your skills, to network with people. That's, how you and I
Yeah,
connected. I have
yeah,
no idea who you
exactly.
are, but now I do. But what
Yeah,
I'm saying is we connected, right? And
yeah,
through the same bond of loving to create and chasing what we love and being happy. And one of the first things I said to you was, let's do a podcast, right?
yeah,
If you're free to do a
yeah,
podcast. Because I'm always seeking people that are in the same field, entrepreneurs, creatives, that want to leave something behind, like a legacy, and not doing it for entirely the money. And that's the vibe I got from yourself and a lot of the guests that I bring on. So I'm very happy
Yeah.
that we're having this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, as society and the economy begins to slowly reopen, we're anticipating things get back to normal or as normal as can be. What projects do you have in sight, or are there any certain projects you wish to be involved in?
I have a few things. I have prom is coming, prom season or prom
Oh, okay.
photos,
That's
I guess,
amazing.
because yeah,
Yeah.
so I have a few people that I want to do like pictures in their dress and stuff. So they want me to do their makeup.
Nice.
Um I have I think a short film coming up.
Nice.
Um and then also I think like a fashion photo shoot, but I think it's a
Okay.
creative, so it's just a bunch of us coming together um just to create like a good picture.
Yeah.
But definitely more than I had last week.
That's
So
great. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
See how it just happens like that,
that's
and so I
yeah,
kind of tell myself like, the world's healing just as much as you are. So give it some
yeah,
time and things, because a big thing for creatives is I believe a lot of us had clients or uh, projects lined up, and then with the pandemic, everything is just so all over the place, right? Because there's
yeah,
so many moving parts as it is that no one wants to risk getting COVID, no one wants to risk violating, policies like how many people you can have on a set. So there's so many factors that you can't really pinpoint. And the best thing to do is, like you said before, is stay relevant, stay creative in the meantime, and then be patient for when your time comes. But I'm really happy to
yeah,
hear that you have at least something to look forward to. I think it's so important, again, for creatives, for artists. I know myself, I was going crazy the last 2 months because
yeah,
everything was on hold, like Act of War, right? We were supposed to shoot it first week of April, and then it got postponed.
yeah,
We didn't want it for it to be, but the rules became so outrageous that I was like, I don't want to risk anyone getting a fine or, dealing with the police, right? I wanted to be
yeah,
smart and professional about it. And I think it worked out that way, right? It made for
yeah,
everyone to be more relaxed. It just wasn't our
yeah. I was
time,
gonna
wasn't
say
meant to
so
be.
much less pressure.
So much less
Yeah,
pressure, right? Like going there, I don't know how your parents are or your family in general, but just going, if you think about it, if we did it the first week of April at the height of lockdown 3, it was
yeah,
like 4,000, 5,000 cases a day. We wouldn't be as relaxed and laid back. In fact, I feel like there would be some, either yourself or just someone on the set that would feel uncomfortable and wouldn't maybe do their best because they don't want to
yeah.
risk anything, right? Or that social anxiety.
Well, that's another thing, right? Like everyone kind of has to make that decision. Like if
Yeah.
you had offered it to me and I said yes, like I would give you 100% because I'm choosing to be there.
No, I appreciate it.
Someone
Yeah.
who's not comfortable doesn't need to be there, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's another thing. Obviously, I respect the pushing it off and making it easier for everyone to not make those decisions at that time,
Yeah.
but just do what you're comfortable with. And
Yeah.
if I'm showing up, why would I not do my best? Like it doesn't, there's no point then,
I respect that
you know?
professionalism. Yeah, I respect that professionalism so much. It's if you are going to show up, then like show up to do your best, right? Like don't
Yeah,
half-ass it. And
yeah,
so important, so important. And a lot of people, like, I'm not going to name names or anything like that. Like, not that you would know these people, but it's just we've experienced these people, right? Like we've experienced situations where people can't even show up. You know what I mean? Like they don't even go that far to show up. And showing up is like the hardest part. People don't
yeah.
realize, right? And I'm talking about even physically. Like some people don't even just show up; they just make an excuse or whatever, right? But you're gonna get that of all kinds. Do you ever experience those discrepancies, those kind of situations?
I mean, not yet, but I'm sure I
No,
will.
yeah, yeah, because you just graduated, right, from CMU?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
green in a sense. You've been in the
yeah,
industry, but you know what I mean. Like you just
yeah.
graduated from school, so you're just getting your feet wet. I haven't
I mean,
experienced
actually,
anything.
I kind of did. I kind
Oh
of,
yeah,
wait, you're cutting out.
I'm back. Am I back?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I
cut
said
out.
I kind of had, yeah, yeah, sorry. I
No, it's
said I
okay.
kind of had that. I had a photo shoot that I had this girl lined up. It was while I was in school. And I think like 2 days before the shoot. And I'm stressed. It was like my first photo shoot that I was doing with the school. You
Right.
really want it to look good and you're nervous and whatever. And this girl was like, "Oh, I can't come. I like something came up, whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, like no problem." But I was like freaking out. I ended up finding somebody else that worked out just fine. And then
Right.
I see that like this girl is at the spa or something. And I'm like, all this stress and you're at the spa, like this. So yes, I have
Oh,
experienced
you
that
would, so
kind of
you,
thing.
wow, that's sad. So they
Yeah.
said they couldn't do it for something, but they were able to go to the spa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
things
like, okay,
happen
I'm
for
not
sure.
gonna work with you again. Like, it's
Yeah,
fine.
and then that's smart of you to say, and also, it toughens our skin, right, and makes us ready for the next battle, right, the next
Yeah.
situation, and um, I think you'll never have a perfect situation, but you could definitely, like you said, prepare yourself by knowing who you want to work with and being aware, right? Like you said it yourself,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I'm not going to work with that person because
Yeah.
you want to have that trust. Creativity is delicate as it is, and one thing throwing it off could completely derail the whole day, derail the whole effort.
Yeah.
And that's why, back to the point about you were being about us being nice, right? Coming to the set and being so welcoming is, I know how sensitive creativity is, how delicate it is. And I know what it's like to be miserable and nothing's coming to your mind. Like, for example, if I walked in and started ordering you around, yeah, you're going to do your job because you're talented, but will it be your best? Because you're probably going to be thinking like, who's this guy that's bothering me all the time? Like, it's just like your mind naturally will go there, right? And say like,
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with this pressure. So it's so important that
Yeah.
you make everyone feel as comfortable as possible to
Yeah.
perform optimally.
For sure. I completely agree with that.
So, having said that, with all these projects coming up and you're looking forward to them, I want to know, like, in terms of like legacy, if you thought that far ahead, like, where do you intend to take this career of yours? Where do you see yourself doing just makeup artist, or do you see yourself being a director one day, maybe a writer?
No,
No,
I
no, just
don't.
strictly makeup.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know.
Yes.
I, I have no idea. But right now, I don't think that's for me.
Okay.
Um, Definitely not writing, directing, maybe. Like I,
Yeah.
who knows? Like I would definitely be more inclined to direct something than to write something, I
Right.
think. But makeup is where I want to be right now.
Where
So
do you see yourself with makeup? Do you mind, like, do you care if it's like a Hallmark movie, or do you want to be like big Hollywood projects one day, getting an
I would
Oscar?
love to, yeah, I would, that would be
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah,
Who,
yeah.
I don't
You're
know, wouldn't you
ambitious.
want
No,
that?
there's nothing wrong with being ambitious. Again,
Yeah.
I'm curious how far your dream, because a lot of
Oh,
people
as
are,
far as it will take me.
as far as it will take you. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's great. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people, let's be honest, there's nothing wrong with that either. But they say, I've talked to editors or directors, and they say, yeah, I just want to do projects in the city. I'm like, okay, like Toronto. But for me, I think, grand scale, like Tarantino, right? Like,
Yeah.
showcase my movies, travel to festivals, promote it,
Exactly.
win the Palme d'Or. Like, just why
Yeah.
not dream big, right?
Exactly.
You'll always be right, because then eventually you'll settle and be comfortable and complacent, and that's what you don't want to be. You always want to be
Right.
imagining better and
Exactly.
more opportunities. So I'm so happy you share that, because I was curious where your mind
No.
was with this career. But yeah, I could see that for sure, right? Like, you just keep
Yeah.
persisting and keep posting. And um, the great thing about makeup art and design is that it's always required. Um, unless it's a
Thank,
really like,
thankfully.
thankfully, right? But unless it's a really
Yeah.
like indie, like what I did, like my first short film, like it still worked out. We did have a makeup department, but it wasn't as like detailed, like with regards to what you required,
Hmm.
like the bruises and the cuts. Not that every movie requires that, but um I'm just saying, like, the more projects I get on, the more I realize like how important makeup is, pulling off even just sweat stains, right? Or
Yeah.
someone that's having a panic attack, you can pull that off all with makeup, right? You don't have to stress the actor out, you can meet them halfway.
Yeah.
So, because I was ready to show up and be like, I need her eyes to be bloodshot, cry,
Oh my
cry,
God.
right? But I know that
Yeah.
there's techniques for that. But that's how green I was before, right? Is like thinking to myself, would I have to stress the actor out? But this is what I mean by, or what you mean, I should say, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Is go in there, ask questions, ask stupid questions you don't know until you ask it, and laugh about it and learn for the next time. Like,
Yeah.
I have no problem saying like, "Oh, can you like really stress don't get your eyes bloodshot?" And then someone tapping me and say, "Yeah, we just use Vaseline." I'm like, "Oh." right? It's
True.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like true. It's like check, right? Or you coming up to me, it's like there's two types of bruises. It's like, okay, I'll learn
Yeah.
that next time. Like I was like, that's why I said to you, I'm like, oh shit, they're really okay. And then what do you say in that moment? Like you just laugh it off, right? And say, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, do that. Um,
Yeah.
but you know, for next time, right? Like if you do a movie that requires bruises, you'll say, okay, what in this scene, what kind of bruises would they have?
Well,
But
that's why
I'm,
also I like
yeah,
your idea of I liked your idea of having like a pre-Zoom meeting.
it's so important. I feel, yeah,
I think because then also you can really lay out like what you would expect from everybody
yeah,
and say like, okay, here's the scene that we're doing, and this is what happened before this scene, and this is where they're gonna be. Like, because then we know, like I know on that project, they were supposed to be a little bit dirty. And I took out the dirt from my kit because I didn't know that that was a thing. So we had to come up with a different way of making a person look dirty, you know?
yeah.
So having like that pre-meeting is good, just keeps everyone like just makes it a little bit more clear.
No, it's
But
so,
at
yeah,
the
so
end of the day,
critical.
like it all worked out anyways. But I think that that's a really good idea.
Yeah, luckily the reason why, again, I have to still go through the footage, but from what I see, like it's just all about being creative with it and working with what you have. That editing is
Yeah.
another creative outlet. Um,
Yeah.
it was a very small project compared to what I'm used to working on. And what I'm saying is, if it was longer, if it was more involved, we would have to for sure do a Zoom call. It's so critical that everyone's on board, even if it's a table read or like you said, a discussion with the makeup artist and explain like, do you understand the story? If you have any questions and things like that. But again, the between the lockdowns throwing us off, and it was very like rush, and we were trying our best to meet for the deadline. We were just happy to get out and shoot. It's just something that you got to say to yourself, hey, you learn for next time, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's
But I'm so
yeah.
happy you're on board about that. Like it's
Yeah.
so critical, and you start to realize, I should say, that as you work with more people, you see who you want on your team, right? Who you want, who sees eye to eye with you.
Hmm.
Because some people might say, no, we don't need that meeting. I have too much stuff going on. Like, we'll just show up. But someone like yourself, I would want to work with again, because it's like, no, I like the meeting. Let's do the meeting. I got to be prepared.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah. Of
very, very, very cool that you share that same idea. I love that. And
course.
yeah, so it's been a great conversation speaking with you. Got to
Yeah.
learn more about you, yourself, your journey. We didn't talk as much on set. It was more business related, but
Yeah.
I really enjoy these conversations, and I plan to have you back on. Talk more about your journey or upcoming projects if you want to promote anything.
Yeah,
If
that'd be
that's something
great.
you're interested in, yeah, for sure.
Of course.
And yeah, so before I go, I remember you saying you were going to Israel last time we spoke. So what's that all
Yeah.
about? Is that for makeup art and design, or is that to discover another another side of you?
No, so that um you actually touched on it. You said we are young. We're kind of like in this phase of our life where if you're not pursuing what you want to pursue completely, like you might regret it down the line and you don't know what the future holds. So if you want to do something, like now is the perfect time.
Right.
And I always, when I was done high school, that's where I went. I traveled there, I studied there, and I haven't been back since. So it's been like 5 or 6 years. Ew.
Yeah.
Um, and
Five or
and
6 years. Yeah.
yeah,
Why'd
and
you
I
say,
always
oh, you're not happy about
so old. I
oh,
feel old.
wait,
Um,
what do you mean? You're
yeah,
no,
but it's
you're in
fine.
your 20s, right?
I'm not. Yeah, I know. I know.
Oh, you're you're
Yeah.
you're in your 30s?
No,
Oh,
I
no, but
am
you're
in
in your
my
20s.
20s.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
but you're not old. Yeah. I don't know why.
I
No, because when you
know.
say you're old, then I feel old. And then it's like, what?
Yeah. Like,
You feel that
well, because,
old?
well, I'm surrounded by people who are younger than me. Like a
Mm.
year, not really a year, because I was the end of my birthday is December 29th. So I'm at
Oh,
the
yeah,
end of
you're
my
you're like a
year.
baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm with people who are the year after me. So I'm the oldest in the group. So I always feel old.
No, yeah, but yeah, I know what you mean, but don't feel
Yeah.
like that, because again, like look, obviously we're getting older, we compare, right? We're saying,
Yeah.
especially our circumstance, like I'm sure you have friends either getting married or having a house or whatever. But
Yeah.
I don't know, I kind of like relate it to like Drake or like those guys where it's like, I'm not saying like we all get to that caliber, but they're in their late 30s and they're still killing it and doing like
True.
things that youthful people are not doing. Right.
It's
So I
true.
just don't give up hope, and yeah, don't feel that old, I guess. I don't know.
No, I
I'm turning
don't. It was just
27
like,
soon. Are you the same age?
yeah. No, I'm 24.
24. Okay. So how could
Yeah.
you call yourself? Oh my God. Now I feel really old. See? Yeah. And there was a lot of people that day on set that were older than me. So,
Yeah.
how did you feel?
No, it's
Right.
just
I know.
saying like, oh, I was in high school 6 years ago. Like, ew. No,
Yeah, I
like
know.
I
I
feel
know.
like
I was
I'm
in high
still.
school, what, 10 years ago? Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go. Right. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't, maybe it's a guy thing. I just don't feel like, obviously, I feel you're getting older, but it's whatever. Like, it's going to happen. As long as you're like kind of pursuing what you want,
Yeah.
and you're
So
happy
so
for it.
that's
Yeah.
why like I was like I always wanted to go back. I'm done school. I'm done makeup school.
Right.
I have an opportunity there to continue with makeup while I'm there. So I was like, why not? This pandemic, I used to travel a lot, and this pandemic obviously put a stop to everything. And I was just feeling stuck. And I thought that this would be a good time to kind of change it up and have a different scene and try and pursue something there and gain a lot of experience there. And then by the time I come back, hopefully things will be way more up and functioning and I'll come back with all this
Right.
experience and you know. So I think that
So
now's just the time that I have to do it.
is Israel, yeah, it's not nothing professionally related. It's just more like you said, you want to go there and you want to see, because you're Israeli, right? Like you're Jewish, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
not Israeli
S-
though.
Not Israeli, yes, you're
Yeah,
Jewish. But what I'm
yeah,
saying is you want to probably see your heritage, right? And
yeah,
kind of bring you back. Like that's for me when I went to Italy. I'm Italian, right? So going for the roots, seeing my
yeah,
ancestors, where they're from and things like that.
yeah,
So I think that's a much needed vacation or trip, I should say.
yeah,
So that's cool. That's a lot of that. That's yeah, amazing that you have that
yeah.
mentality. I wish you best of luck. Don't feel
Thank
old,
you.
please. Don't feel old because uh, what do people say if they're in their 30s, right?
Yeah, right?
No, I feel like the more we do what makes us happy, the more we'll feel young and alive inside. And
Yeah,
you keep doing what you're doing, and you won't even think twice about high school, because there's half the people I talk to, they don't even think about high school anymore.
yeah,
um it's so yesterday, it's such a blur, really. So much time has passed in between.
it's
um
true.
but especially you going to Israel, like how do you even think about
Yeah,
that, right? It's like,
I know.
but
I
that's
know.
great, have fun, be safe, but I'm sure
Thank
we'll
you.
talk again
Yeah,
in the meantime.
yeah,
And yeah, looking forward to the next conversation.
me too. This is awesome.
So yeah, so having said that, thank you again, Steph, for coming on the podcast. Thank you again, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk soon.